In this episode of the 80's Glam Metalcast, we talk to a guitar legend from the bands Europe and Easy Action, Kee Marcello. He has a lot going on this year. We talk about all of it, and we hear some classic Europe stories. Check it out. Kee, welcome to the 80's Glam Metalcast. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Great. Thanks for having me. It's great to hear. I mean, it's an afternoon. It's the beginning of January in Sweden, so the weather isn't great. But, hey, what can you do?
So, what do you have planned for 2020?
It's a lot of stuff, actually. First of all, right now, I'm writing for a new solo album, a new Kee Marcello album. I've been writing for a new album for Key of Hearts. It's a project I have together with Tommy Hart, the singer from Fair Warning. We're going to eventually change that name for a couple of reasons, which I won't get into right here. But so that's going to happen too this year. We're going to tour in September. I'm doing a solo tour in March, and also I'm writing songs for a new Easy Action album. We did a reunion of the band at Sweden Rock Festival last summer, which was really great. So we're working on a new album.
Wow, so you have a lot going on right now.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff going on, which is great, you know. Also, I have a show called Rock the Night, which is sort of a spin-off of Rock of Ages, which I was in. The Swedish production of Rock of Ages in Stockholm, they wrote me a part of my own. I was actually acting as myself in the show, which was great fun. We did that for many seasons. And after that, I put together a show with some of the famous actors from there and great musicians, and did the whole thing without the Broadway elements, if you get me. So it's just more like of a musical show, you know. We did a lot of that. A little bit like that Vegas show, you know, Raid in the Rock Vault.
Mm-hmm.
You heard about that?
Yep.
So we did a lot of those gigs last year with Mickey D, the drummer from Motorhead and Scorpions, and Eric from Heat, the lead singer from Eric Grönvall from Heat, the singer, and various artists. It's a lot of fun.
So how does the new stuff you're writing for your solo album compare to your last album that you did, Scaling Up?
I think it's pretty much in the same vein, but as all albums live their own lives, I just noticed it's a bit less keyboardy and maybe more guitar-based this time. I'm sure eventually the keyboard songs are going to pop up as well, but right now it's very riffy and it's a bit heavier, and yeah, that's the feeling I have right now. It could change a bit, you know, while you're writing along the way.
Yeah, I really like that album, and I like the song a lot, Don't Miss You Much. That really reminds me of something that could have been on Prisoners in Paradise by Europe. I really like that song.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, that was fun. It was actually, I love that era with Europe, the Prisoners in Paradise, where we really flirted with AOR, you know, like we become a bit Americanized, I would say. So, yeah, I like that traditional songwriting a lot.
So, I talked with your past bandmate, Zinny Zan, yesterday, actually. And so it sounds like you're going to be doing another album with him then, correct?
With Zinny?
Yes. For the Easy Action, will he be on there?
No. Oh, sorry. Well, Zinny was in Easy Action, the first rendition of Easy Action, if you wish. What we did last summer was Easy Action with Tommy Nilsson. We did an album called That Makes One, which is a different project, really. It's much more AOR in a way, you know. So that's a different project altogether. What happened after the first Easy Action album? We went separate ways, and he moved to LA and eventually formed Shotgun Messiah and all that. So, and I joined Europe. So what we're doing a new album with, that's with Tommy Nilsson on lead vocals. But we also did a reunion with Easy Action with Zinezan in it in 2006, I believe.
We talked a little bit about the whole Poison thing with I Want Action versus We Go Rocking. Who wrote We Go Rocking?
Yeah, I wrote that. I think I wrote the music, and me, Zinny, and Alex did the words together. But that was so funny, man. You know, I don't know if I told if you know that, but we were rehearsing with Europe in San Francisco, and I was just crossing the bridge. I turn on the radio, and I hear my own song with different words on it. It was really weird. It was almost like being in a science fiction movie. You know, you know when you wrote a song, it's part of you, and then somebody changed the words. It was really weird. And I asked somebody, "Who the hell is this?" And they said, "That's Poison." So I called my manager, but he wasn't really interested in that thing at all, you know, because he wasn't involved. He didn't have the publishing or anything like that. But eventually what happened was Warner Chappell sued their publisher.
Yeah, that had to be crazy because, it's spot on. The melody is just spot on.
Oh, yeah. And I remember a famous DJ in Stockholm. He actually did a really cool thing. He started off with the I Want Action, and then he played a chorus on I Want Action. Then he played We Go Rocking, and then in the end he played both of the songs simultaneously. In the left speaker you had Poison, and in the right one you had Easy Action. And that's when you really could hear how similar it is. Man, it's funny.
So in 1986, you get into Europe. Did you have to try out, or did they just call you because they needed a guitarist? How did that all play out?
No, I didn't have to audition or anything like that. I mean, come to think of it, you know, when you think about it, it was not a huge rock scene back then. I mean, all the bands in Stockholm, you know, Easy Action, Europe, Treat, 220 Volts, I'm forgetting half of them, but we pretty much knew each other because we would hang out, you know, on clubs and all that. So, and also one of the reasons I think I didn't have to audition was we worked a lot actually together. I did a production for a charity project called Swedish Metal 8. And Joey wrote that song. So me and Joey was in the studio working together, and he heard my producing and my guitar playing and everything. So he knew already.
What was the problem with John Norum at that point? Was he unhappy with the direction of the band, or because I feel like he left at like a really bad time. I mean they got huge right after he left.
Yeah, I think he actually. I'm not quite sure. You should ask them, but I think he got the sack.
Okay.
Because it was really difficult to deal with, and you know when they were on tour, it didn't work out so well. So that's what I heard, that he got the sack, and then they called me, and I you know, it was fairly easy. We just went into the rehearsals and started rehearsing straight away.
How long did it take you to learn all the songs for like the live show?
Actually, I knew them before we started to rehearse. I made sure I knew all the licks and everything. Okay. But then this is October 1986. We were rehearsing for the upcoming Final Countdown World Tour, which kicked off in January. And so we more or less rehearsed most of that time from October until January. So I had lots of hours to learn my parts and everything, you know, which was great. The only gigs we did were promotion journeys and things of that sort, So we never played anything live during the fall of '86. It started off in January '87.
Did you find it kind of weird, like when you had to do like a performance where you just played to the music, or if you did a music video? Was it weird playing somebody else's licks, or didn't you care?
I mean, it was a bit weird, to be frank. Definitely, you're talking about Rock the Night and Carrie and all that.
Yeah.
It's really weird, playing like air guitar to somebody else's music. But I discussed it with the guys, and they really wanted me to do that. So what the hell,
Yeah, definitely.
It has to be done. Yeah.
Great videos. You were in some awesome, iconic videos, so that must be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we had fun, especially the one we did in Cherokee, the one we did in the desert. It's shot in Almeria, which is in Andalusia in Spain. It's the only desert we have in the continent of Europe. And that's where they shoot with Sergio Leone, did all his spaghetti western movies there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a really cool area.
So in 1988, you guys do Out of This World. That must have been nice this time because you're involved with the writing process and the recording. It was probably a lot better, right?
Yeah.
At that point, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome. And also we had a chance to work with Ron Navison, which, of course, everybody knew he was a really famous and successful producer, and he worked with a lot of people we love. So that was a great setting, we were in London, in the great Olympic Studios. Really cool. I mean, during the same period, it was Freddie Mercury was shooting. He was recording his solo album simultaneously with us, and also Bryan Adams was there, and Boy George.
Wow.
One of those studios where they have like 5-6 studio rooms, Studio A, Studio B, Studio C. So it's a lot of people could room in the same studio.
Did you ever get to say hi to Freddie Mercury?
Yes, I did.
Oh, cool.
The thing is, I was helping Ian Halvan with the drums, and we forgot to close the door into the recording studio. So while he was trying out his snare drum, all of a sudden Freddie Mercury was standing in the doorway, and he and he said, "You must be kidding!" And we turned around, and he was over there, just staring at us, giving us a good old stare because we forgot to. So that's how I met Freddie Mercury. That was pretty much all he said, though. "You must be kidding!"
Were you a Queen fan?
Oh, yeah, totally. And Ian, too. So we go, "Oh, Mr. Mercury, it's so nice to see you." And he goes,
"Hey, hey, hey!
You must be kidding."
Well, that's something you'll never forget, right?
Exactly. That's a good memory.
So one thing I noticed that on a lot of the Europe albums, there's songs that are solely written by Joey Tempest, quite a bit. How would that work? Would he come in with like finished music? How did that all work with him? Does he write all the music entirely, or how did that work?
Yeah, I mean he really liked to be in charge of the writing process, which changed a bit when I joined the band, since I'm a songwriter as well. But, I mean, what the other guys told me, what normally happened, he came with a bunch of demos, that he recorded on his home studio, and then they just rehearsed it. That changed a bit because Michaeli also got into songwriting, so it was a bit more divided on the two albums I'm on. But he really didn't want to have too many co-writes with other people. He liked to do the majority by himself,
Interesting. Now, in my opinion, I think Out of This World is a better album than The Final Countdown. I think The Final Countdown has really strong singles, But I'd say as an overall album, I personally like Out of This World better.
Thanks. Yeah. Me too. For some reason, we got all the parts together on that one. It's really cool. And also Ron Neves was producing. But I wrote like 8 songs for that album, and I only got 3 on there, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of competition, and also Joey being the sole writer of the Final Countdown, he wanted to have most of his songs on the album, obviously.
Oh yeah.
The arrangements on that album are awesome. Between keyboards and guitars, the sound, the arrangements, and of it all is really happening, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, and I think the band is really maturing at this point. Songs like "Sign of the Times," even like "Tomorrow."
Yeah.
"Tomorrow" is one of those songs where, like, maybe it doesn't hit you the first time you hear it, but years later, you keep listening to this album, you're like, "That's an amazing song." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned "Sign of the Times." That's a really cool song. It's very melodic. Yeah.
And it's funny because I sent that out on Twitter. What I'll do on my Twitter page is I'll sometimes say, what's better, Final Countdown or Out of This World, and I'll put both album covers on the tweet and I'll send it out. And I figured it was going to be, Final Countdown all the way. And I gotta say, it was either dead even or maybe even more in favor of Out of This World. So people love Out of This World.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Awesome.
And I'm not saying this just because I'm talking to you, but I'm just being honest, is that I prefer the guitar playing on that album as well. I think the tone of your guitar on that album is killer. And
thanks.
I just think it's a little bit more, you're a very melodic player. And I just like those soaring leads. They're very memorable. So great job, Kee.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. I like it also. I think what we found on that album, which is really cool, and we continued on the album after that, is to have that dialogue between the vocals and the guitar, where they're both just as melodic, So once you have the chorus, the melody of and the punchline of the actual song, then the guitar solo comes over, and it's almost a different theme, like a song within a song. For instance, on songs like "Superstitious" and "Let the Good Times Rock" and also "Sign of the Times," they all three have that thematic melodic solo.
Did you get that from Brian May? I mean, are you a Brian May fan?
Oh yeah, I love Brian May. I think definitely. But I think I would say I got it from classical music.
Sure.
Because that's how classical music works. We have a main theme and you have a variation of the main theme. I was thinking along those lines. But man, Brian May is awesome. And when I built the amp that I'm using on Out of This World, I had Brian May in mind. Of course, it turned out completely different, but I was really impressed about his MIDI kind of sound, the solo sound he has on all those Queen albums. So that's why I built a mid boost in my Marshall Super Lead,
You probably have some of the same heroes as Ronnie Leticro, and I talked to him before, and it's funny, he mentioned the same thing. When he does a solo, sometimes the whole song changes. It's still melodic, but it's like a song within a song, and then somehow it morphs back to the original song. And he mentioned that he gets a lot of his ideas from big band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Ronnie. He's great. He's a really cool guy. He's Norwegian, I went to the last time we toured Norway with my band. We passed by his studio for a cup of coffee. He lives not too far away from Oslo.
Yeah, definitely a cool guy. He was fun to chat with. So let's bounce over to the Prisoners in Paradise album, which I love this album. I probably would put it in my scale of Europe albums. I'd put it as number 2. So you guys,
Awesome.
you guys had this album done initially, right? And then it went to the label. And what was the problem? They wanted some different songs on there, or what happened?
Yeah, it was really spooky, actually. I mean, we had no idea how that the label were going to react this way. We worked on the album, and it was awesome. We were working with Bo Hill. Another thing that you might not know is that we actually had Bob Rock producing the album, and Herbie Herbert, the manager of Europe, the Journey guy.
Yeah.
He calls me, and I'm in the West Indies in the house, and he tells me we're in deep shit. This was 3 weeks before the recording of Christmas in Paradise, and he tells me, I just got a phone call from Bruce Fairbairn, who was then Bob Rock's manager, and Bob Rock is not doing the album. And I said, wow, what happened? I thought we had a deal. And Herbert said, yeah, we had. But they're fucking us, So, and this was horrible, because we had a world tour booked. We stood to losing maybe 6-7 figure amounts, if we didn't have an album out before the world tour. So it was really hard to get that.
Who did he end up producing? Who did he end up, was that Metallica, or who did he go with?
Yeah, he went with Metallica. But the thing is, Herbert, he never wrote a contract with anyone. It was just a handshake. He was old school that way. And he and Bruce Fairbairn were really good friends, so they would go deep sea fishing in Newfoundland every year, And so he thought it was a safe deal. They just sealed it with a handshake. And then Bruce Fairbairn went back on his word because they believed more in Metallica's Black Album, which in the rearview mirror, they were right.
Right.
That was amazing. Or nobody knows. I mean, maybe the new Europe album would have been something amazing with Bob Rock.
That's true, right? Yeah, you just never know.
But anyway, when I was there in the West Indies, and just out of coincidence, I ran into Bo Hill a couple of weeks earlier at the Concrete Convention in LA, and they said, "Kee, I would love to produce your new band," because I was actually in contact with him. I wanted him to produce the second Easy Action album, but it never turned out. And he said, Bo said, "I would love to produce your new band, Europe." I said, "No, sorry, we have Bob Rock," and he goes, "Good for you. He's doing great stuff right now." And he said, "But this business. Here's my business card." Because shit happens,
Yeah.
And then, sitting by the pool in the West Indies, I picked up the phone. I told Herbie, "Let me call you back in 10 minutes." Picked up the phone, called Bo, and I said, "Bo, shit happened." So actually, I got him, and that was a miracle, because people like Bo Hill have worked the pan out for a couple of years ahead. And I got him to get into the studio and produce the Europe album in 3 weeks. So that's thanks a lot to Bo Hill. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been an album. But anyway, what happened was we recorded what we thought was the final version of the album. And then they sent 4 people from all the branches, all the epic branches over America. And they listened back to the whole album by themselves in the studio. Weren't even allowed to be in there. And then they came out and just took off. Never spoke to us even. And then we got the message they didn't like the album. Because like a lot of record company people do, they look at stats. And if you follow statistics, the biggest hit song we had then was Carrie. Because it was on number 3 on the Billboard charts. Final Countdown was only number 7, I think. So they wanted more ballads, and sent us back into the studio.
So basically what they did is this is just my take on it. They delayed the release, so it could have came out in 90, but it came out in 91, correct?
Yes.
So we all know, and I don't want to beat a dead horse because I talk about this on almost on every episode, but 1991 is the day of reckon or the year of reckoning for the 80s hard rock bands. So if this album could have come out in 90 as it was, chances are you may have been able to have another hit album. But in 1991, right, we've got a whole different year that we're dealing with. So talk about maybe what it was like putting that album out in 91. What were the challenges you were facing?
I mean, yeah, you're completely right. That we had the most challenging year to release a new album in that musical style, because everything changed during 91, really. Now in 1990, we still would still have been the perfect market for bands like Europe, but it never happened.
Executives got it wrong. That happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it happens a lot. I mean, you cannot rely solely on stats, because they lie all the time, I mean, even though it was the biggest chart action we had with Carrie, but I don't think it's the most popular song by far. So many other songs they prefer to listen to at the concerts. I think you can't really prove your case just based on chart action.
Oh, exactly. So the songs, there's I like the whole album. I think it's a great album, but I actually really love the first 5 songs the most. Now, are those the 5 songs that they made you add in, or no?
Which are the first 5 ones? Sorry for my ignorance. I can't remember it now.
All or Nothing, Halfway to Heaven, I'll Cry for You, Talk to Me. That's at least 4 of them. Were those the songs you had to add to the album, or some of those?
No, I think some of them we recorded already. I mean, and also All or Nothing. That's co-written by Eric Martin, the singer from Mr. Big.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's also a Bay Area dude. No, we recorded most of those songs. I'll Cry for You is a co-write with the Rod Stewart guy. I can't remember his name right now. Oh no, it's the guy that writes with Bryan Adams.
Oh, Valence?
I think he's what?
Is it?
Yeah,
Valence. Jim Valence?
Yeah, Valence. He's on I'll Cry for You. He's a co-writer there. So that's another thing that the label wanted us to do. They want us to do some co-writes.
Mm. Well, there's some killer melodic rock songs. I love those songs, man. You guys, especially you've got some great guitar melodies on those. I think I'll Cry for You is one where you really have a cool melody that follows the vocal line. I mean, I love all those songs. They're great.
Yeah, that's a nice one. I like the melodic, the melodic parts of that. It's a great songwriting there. Awesome.
But one thing that always comes up is people always blame grunge and they blame Nirvana, and sure, that's all part of it. But you know what? Sometimes I feel like you have to blame some of the fans as well, because as a fan, I bought that album, but a lot of fans were just, let's say they were casual fans, right? They liked whatever was popular, and as soon as Europe and Bon Jovi and all these guys weren't popular, they just moved on to whatever was on MTV. So as much as it's easy to blame a trend or a label or a MTV or whoever, I feel like the fans, I mean, if you really like a style of music or you like a band, you should stick by them,
Definitely. I never thought about it that way, but you're completely right. Definitely that. And it's far too easy to blame like a movement or style of music around the corner. I mean, for us that was not the case though, because we sold I can't remember 1.5 million units of that album.
Okay.
And so the label wanted us to do another one. They wanted Prisoners in Paradise 2. But we didn't want to do it because we felt we couldn't add anything to the current climate, if you wish.
Sure.
Since it was all full of grunge bands, and we didn't feel at home. That's why we decided to take a break, you know. And that was all it was going to be in the beginning, a break. It turned out it was a really long break.
Yeah. So when they got back together, as far as I know, with reunion albums and everything that they've done since, they brought back John Norum. Why didn't they bring you back?
That's a good question. I mean, first we talked about doing a 2-guitar version of the band.
Ooh, yeah,
and
cool.
But that didn't happen. I don't know why. But the thing is also, I had an idea how I wanted to not really care about what was happening in the music around 2000, whatever it was, but to do Europe's thing. I wanted to do those melodic songs again, and it didn't seem like anybody was into that, you know, definitely not Joey Tempest. So I think that's the major reason why I'm not in the current lineup.
Do you still talk to those guys?
No, I don't really have any contact with Joey, but I meet Ian Howland. I meet all the time because he works for a radio station. Are you aware of this?
No.
He works for classic rock radio in Stockholm.
No kidding.
So every time I'm there, I bump into him. So I meet him all the time. Also, he and Mick McAuley came to the release party of my new album of Scaling Up in Stockholm.
So if they were to make a phone call, John Norum's out, they call you, are you back in, or what would you do?
No.
Well,
it depends. The thing is, I would not be in if I had to play all the new albums they did since the reunion. That would be that wouldn't work for me. But if we were to do something new or something Europe with me in it, then I would think about it.
Sure.
But not if I would have to play all the songs on the new reunion albums.
Well, anything, Kee, that you want to tell the fans that have been following you all these years?
Thank you. More news is soon to come about the Soul album and the Easy Action album. I mean, we're actually doing a reissue of the That Makes One album from 1986.
Okay.
By AOR Heaven are releasing this. I'm going to release a video with one of the tracks from that album, which is from Sweden Rock last summer. So that's going to be out next week, I think, actually.
Cool. Great.
Great talk. Good talking to you, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, keep me in the loop of everything that you have going forward. I'll definitely share it on my Twitter page, and I really appreciate it.
Now it is time for the 80's Glam Metalcast blooper reel.
Welcome to the 80's Glam Metalcast. How you do? Oh, my voice just cracked there. Excuse me. I haven't warmed up too much. It's kind of early yet. So Kee,
I'm going to do your vocal exercises.
Well, I'm not good a singer as you are, so. Wow, what a great conversation with Kee. I really love his era of Europe. I hope you enjoyed this episode. There's a ton more coming, so please subscribe. Rock the night.